Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Hightown Season 3, Episode 2. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with Jackie's side of things. Obviously, she's continuing to look into the Veronica, even like going to track down Petey, which I love that it seems like there's some weird... I mean, I guess that typical thing of like, hey, I say typical, but you know, the thing of, oh, you're friends with your dealer, you're on a first name basis. Like, oh, come on, Petey, like, hook me up with some information. And she's like, I'm not going to sleep if you do, because he's like, why would I give you information when you won't give me what I want? And I was like, I'm never going to sleep if you do. I think she's in trouble, and I think I need to be the one to help her. So he's like, all right, fine. So he ends up giving her some information, and just because she's like, yeah, I'm not here to score. But before she leaves, she's like, you know what, I might as well take something for later. I'm like, are you out of your mind? You would think at least to some... I mean, once again, you're an addict. Like, there's nothing going to break that addiction, like, you know, no matter what the circumstances. But you think you'd want a clear head when you're investigating something that involves you not remembering the past 2 days. Like, you think that kind of take precedent, but once again, that's why addiction's what it is. But it's still like, man, Jackie, you are a mess, homie. You're scoring drugs when the last time you got high, you lost 2 days? Like, come on. So she ends up trying to set up with this other woman, Emma, who's connected to Veronica, hoping that linking up with her will help track down the whole Veronica situation. But that's after Jackie ends up basically getting fired because her drug test, it's like, wait, you just tested me yesterday. It's like, yeah, but that's why it's a random drug test. So it's like, cool. She got the piss ready, and the lady was like, come here. I was like, is she pregnant? Because I was like, that would probably be an issue. I mean, I don't know, because your preferences on the side isn't going to be much of a thing. Ray would know you well enough to be like, yeah, something's fishy there if you end up being pregnant. But like, I'm sure Jackie will be able to skirt her way around it. But that's why I was wondering if the lady was pregnant. It's like, no, they found weed in her system, which I love. Jackie's like, I don't even do weed. It's like, yeah, that seems to be the case. But it's like, it's ironic that it's like, it's someone caught in a lie doubling down. No, it's someone getting caught who is lying about something, getting caught for a completely different lie. It's like, that is kind of ironic that it's like, there is some hilarious irony to that. That is like, oh, you are still getting high, you're not clean, yet you got busted because the person who's supposed to be giving you clean piss wasn't clean themselves. Turns out, like, her husband gave her a gummy and she didn't know it was a gummy. Like, she probably thought it was like a regular gummy, didn't realize it was a weed gummy. So, it's like, I mean, once again, it's understandable because you're like, oh, I've got so many systems in place and stuff like that. But it's like, yeah, it kind of ended up being your undoing. I mean, granted, you would have been busted if you used your own piss anyway. So you're like, damn did you do, damn did you don't. But it's like, it's so interesting to get so pissed off. I'm like, oh, I'm getting caught for weed and stuff like that. Weed's legal. But it's like, yeah, you're doubling down because you know you're not clean anyway. But Ray's like, hey, I got your back. I'm going to see through this. Because, like, Ray likes Jackie. Jackie's always been... they've had their complications, but they've always been good with each other to some extent. Because also, like, they're a lot alike. They both have a lot of, like, addictive issues in a lot of capacities. He's the sex addict that he is, and he has, like, his addiction. He kind of does what Jackie does. He throws himself into work to kind of... because he's addicted to all of that as well. So, like, it's Jackie's way of kind of staying sober, but even now it's like, well, you're working and you're not staying sober, so that's kind of all falling through. So she loses her job for a little while. But later on, Ray's like, yo, I can hook you up. All you have to do is kind of go to this like treatment thing and you'll be back on the force and stuff. She also ends up running into Ed, or rather Ed runs into her, which he's like, yeah, like I heard from Ray that you got caught for weed. She's like, no, the test was wrong. He's like, you aren't clean. And she's like, how would you know? He's like, because you've basically been avoiding me since Christmas, and the only reason why you'd be avoiding me is because you know I'd give you the whole spiel. And Ed didn't get too preachy this episode. He can be towards Jackie because he loves her and cares about her. She is like a daughter to him. And Ed's kind of like a father to her. Like, yeah, they had their falling out for a bit last season, but it's like, yeah, of course you're avoiding me like crazy because it's the typical dad thing of, not even just dad, parental thing of, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. You know, once again, that cuts even deeper. Like, that's what bothers Jackie so much. It's like, because Ed's like, no, like, you need to go, you used to love going to the meetings and stuff, but she's like, I got a lot going on.
It's just, I think, because it's funny because someone had, it was actually Alan, he was talking to, was that their previous boss? I forgot what position he was in, but they were talking about how, like, all you have to do is play it cool. Like, if it was you or me, if it was someone black and we skimmed on the dark side of things, like, you and I would be fired in an instant. But Ray, he gets a chance because he's white. It is what it is. But hey, as long as you keep your head down, you do your job, Ray's going to fuck up because Ray's a major fuck up. He's done it in the past. He's going to do it again. And you'll be there to kind of seem like the shining example, you know? So all you have to do is bide your time until Ray fucks everything up, which you hope he doesn't, but it's all going to circle back and fuck him over regardless because the Renee element of it all. But, you know, because that's going to be on him because Alan's investigating that side of things, and that's going to circle back to Renee, and that's going to blow up in Ray's face. If his like what Ray's doing this season already doesn't blow up in his face, the Renee stuff will blow up in his face in a lot of ways. So that's going to be interesting, especially when the guy mentioned Alan being like, "Oh yeah, your win is you got Frankie Cuevo in prison," but I'm like, if Renee gets taken down for Jorge's murder, won't that end up releasing Frankie and now blow back on Alan? I don't know. I'm actually forgetting like all they were able to charge Frankie with, like, because obviously they're holding the Jorge thing over him, but it's like he didn't kill Jorge. I think because they still don't have the charges on the Jorge situation, so I don't know if that's going to be something Frankie's going to be able to use to his advantage because he knows that she's responsible for Jorge's murder, but they haven't been able to charge him with Jorge's murder because they don't have any proof that he actually did do it. So it's like other stuff they got him on charges for, but not the Jorge stuff. But either way, my whole point was they were referencing the fact is that Ray is the fuck up that he is, and I was tying this back into how. No, the point I was making is like they were making this whole point about Ray's the fuck up he is because he can't change, and Jackie is submitting herself to the fact is of like I know I can't change, and that's what disappoints her in herself because it's like, why bother, because nothing I do is going to change. I'm not capable of change because every time I take a step forward I'm taking 2 steps back once again because she's not really dealing with the root of her issues. It's just band-aid after band-aid. I mean, I guess maybe because once like this is assumption from an outside perspective, but it's meant to, like, the meetings are meant to give you the tools to be able to properly deal with any triggers that might aggravate your addiction. So I don't know if I don't want to relegate it to just being like, oh, like that those tools are band-aids in themselves, but you get what I'm saying, where it's just like her diving into work are temporary solutions. They're temporary band-aids, whereas like going to a meeting can give you lifelong tools necessary. It's not going to be 100% surefire, but it's surefire means of protecting yourself from your addiction, but it can at least give you better chances than kind of going it on your own, essentially. So but yeah, like she feels like I'm not worth, like it's not worth it because I can't change and just too much going on. And so Ed's attempts to reach out to her failed, and it's just like, you know, she's like, no, I'll go to like a meeting tonight or tomorrow, and he's like, oh, okay. You know, he's like, reach out to me, Jackie. Like, call me. Once again, it's just a disappointed thing, and she's disappointed in herself for disappointing him. Like, because especially last season, she let him down a lot. Last season, they had their fallout and everything. So I think for her, it's just kind of like, you've always been good to me, Ed, and I don't want to let you down, but I feel like she's flailing right now, you know? So either way, she has her meet with Emma, but she ends up meeting essentially the pimp, which I'm like, I gotta look that up. Like, that actor looks so familiar, and I can't remember what I know him from. The actor is Nick Gomez, and one of the first things I saw pop up on IMDb was Looper. I was like, man, I haven't seen Looper like since it originally came out, like 2012. So I was like, I didn't remember him being that. But the thing I remembered him from, like, I was like, why does he seem so familiar to me? Is She-Hulk. I was like, oh, right, that's who you were. I was like, why were you so familiar? And I knew it had to be something fairly recent because it was bothering me. Yeah, like She-Hulk's the thing I recognized him from. Either way,
Jackie went to meet with him, and it's like, well, she technically wasn't lying at the time when she was like, yo, I'm not a cop. It's like, well, technically you're not one right now. But the guy said, nah, I'm busting your balls. But then the moment he got high, I mean, your high paranoia kicks in, and he was just, especially because she was asking questions about Veronica. He was like, I don't know her. He's like, oh, she's like, nah, I just hooked up with her once. I was curious if you knew. And all of a sudden, he's like, you know what? You need to get out of here. You need to get out of here. And like sometime afterwards, because Jackie got high, and she did some coke to kind of keep herself awake, but she fell asleep. But like sometime afterwards, like he rolled out all the girls and left. I'm like, I wonder he'd roll out just because of Jackie asking questions, or was it just time to roll out? But anyway, follows Emma home. She's overdosing. So like kind of, what was it, Novocaine or whatever, to wake her up. But she's like, yo, you ruined the high. And so she gets high again. And just like Jackie being like, no, I'm not trying to disturb your situation. I guess because there's also like the side of her, it's like, I kind of, I'm not here trying to bust your fun or trying to ruin things for you. I'm just going to stay here to make sure you're safe and you're okay. But then she's overhearing Emma say all this stuff about, oh, poor Veronica. And it's like, so did... Because the character's name is Swayze. He's the pimp. It's like, did he do something to her? Like, what's going on? What happened? Like, why is her bloody shirt in the back of Jackie's car? Like, because obviously Swayze never met Jackie then, because he would have recognized her immediately. I mean, granted, he hadn't gotten high. I mean, not unless he was already riding a high and he just got even higher during that scene. But he didn't recognize Jackie, so it can't be that. So something unrelated probably happened. I don't know. Because obviously Emma's never met Jackie before either, because she's like, who the hell are you? For one, it's like, I guess that's supposed to be that whole thing of like, oh, she busted in your house and she's talking about staying and you don't know her, but you're like, fuck it, I'm getting high, you could do whatever you want. I'm like, Jesus, that's such a wild scene to just be like so fine with, you broke in, all right, just don't ruin my next high, and let me go to sleep. Hey, do you mind rubbing my back? It's like, jeez, what the fuck is this situation, dude? So... Emma knows something happened to Veronica. I mean, she was kind of cagey a moment. Jackie initially was like, oh, what about that girl I hooked up with Veronica before? And she's like, yeah, she's kind of indisposed right now. It's like, so I'm assuming she's dead. It's quite a lot of blood on that shirt. Doesn't necessarily mean she's dead, but it feels like she's dead and she's been like taken care of. And once again, it's just maybe all that happened while Jackie was passed. I mean, who knows? Because, I mean, her car was left there. Not less... Veronica took her car, because like, let's not forget, like, Jackie woke up on the beach. She could have wandered off on her own, and Veronica went back to the car, and that's when shit popped off and something happened. Who knows? There's just too much of a blank space in Jackie's mind for those 2 days to know like what happened and what she might have learned or heard in that time frame. So we'll have to wait to see where that storyline goes. Then there's the whole situation with Ray getting Sarah, kind of getting her associated with undercover work. And once again, that situation is screaming. That's the red flags are there. I brought it up last episode. It's like, that seems like the situation. The Sarah situation, like, I don't know if Sarah is specifically sent there to entrap you, where it's like they're trying to set you up. This is part of it isn't just about her going undercover, like, because it's like she even said like, I know about your reputation, so and it feels like that might be a thing of she might be coming on to Ray a little bit. I don't know if I don't know if that's just like me viewing things from like Ray's horny mind or what, but it feels like that's all a setup. It just feels like they're about to like wreck your ass, like the moment it's like, oh, gotcha bitch type of situation. It feels like they're setting him up. But maybe I mean, if whether or not they're setting Ray up, whether that's a real setup or whether that's just going to be his downfall in general, it's going to be on Ray taking the bait. Like, it feels like that's just like he's going to end up sleeping with her, and that's going to be a whole kerfuffle. It's going to be like him and Renee, or Leslie and Jackie, how all those situations got extremely complicated. I mean, I guess in Ray's case, it's like, well, it all worked out because me and Renee were happy raising the family together, even though she's kind of mainly doing that by herself, and you're kind of like mainly at work, so... But that Sarah made some rookie mistakes. For one, she got in the car with the person she's buying drugs from. She also showcased how much money she had on her, which is like not a good thing to do. I get it. You should have asked for, like, the smart thing would have been like, yo, so how much is like, oh, you're charging this much, yada yada yada. Don't be like, oh, how much will this get me? I don't know the pricing here. It's like, I think you can ask pricing without their raising an eyebrow. The home dude tried to rob her, and she pepper sprayed him. But since she's in such close proximity, ends up burning her eyes. Like, I've watched quite a few things. I've never watched everything in the world, but anytime I've ever seen pepper spray used, it is always in, because I think I knew that ahead of time, but I've just never seen it in the show. I'm like, that situation. I'm like, man, you fucked that situation, Sarah. Not only did you pepper spray him because you put yourself in that dangerous situation, but you also pepper sprayed yourself in the process. I'm like, that's super fucked. I was like, that is wild. That's some amateur shit right there. To be fair, she is an amateur, but it's like, yeah, it all works out in the end. I should also note, I was thinking to myself, I was looking at the actor, what's his name, Fitzy or whatever, the guy they busted. I was like, is that the guy who played in Barry? He played Sally's ex. What's his name? Sam? I think that's him, just with like his beard is bigger and like obviously his hair is longer. I think it's the same actor. It kind of looks the same in the face. I mean, to be fair, that was like, what, 2019 when he was in Barry, and that was like many years ago. But still, it's just interesting. I think that's the same actor, if I'm not mistaken. So now they're one step closer to, because the person he buys drugs from is obviously connected, because it's all in Shane and Owen's territory. I mean, obviously it's Shane because it's his game that's being run. But yeah, like, because of that, now, Jesus, my mind got sidetracked by something else I'm going to talk about in a second. I'm going to get to it in a second because it's already on my mind. But because of that, like, Sarah's like feeling herself like, yeah, you could be, train me without being a D-bag, Ray, because I think it's kind of a good thing. It's like, please, like, keep that professional. You're not going to be able to. Two people, once again, Jackie and Ray, like, they're two sides of the same coin of, like, they're trying to change, but can they actually change? Will Jackie change, but not Ray? Like, we'll see. Hopefully, I mean, obviously, like, Jackie's on the down spiral because she's kind of going down the rabbit hole she is again, but Ray seems okay for now. But like I said, I'm just, like, Sarah's just screaming red flag down. I'm like, that's going to blow up in your face. But we'll see if you'll be able to control yourself, Ray. But yeah, she's feeling herself because she's like, yeah, I'm the one that got us into that operation. So it did, but I mean, you didn't do it in the most graceful way. You kind of stumbled your way there. But I mean, I guess a win is a win, no matter how sloppy it is. But yeah, the thing I was thinking about was Owen. I've talked about this recently. It's like, man, the entertainment has swung the pendulum the other way, where it's like, you know what? Women have been naked for too long, and we're showing off their boobs and their bodies entirely. It's time we start putting penis on display, which kind of is wild to me. I'm like, that, I can't help it because it's so jarring because I'm not used to it. Like, nudity in shows still kind of go like, oh wow, wasn't expecting full nudity, but it's like, the fact is I've seen way more penis on TV shows than I ever thought. I mean, it happens a lot more in probably, like, definitely, like, foreign and independent films, sure, but it's just like, I don't watch enough movies for that to happen, but like, it's happening more. I've just noticed it. The uptick in penis on TV has just been crazy. I think it's the wildest, funniest thing ever to me. Cause like, he just pulled out, I'm like, you didn't even, like, part of me was like, you didn't even have to go that hard. Like, oh god, no pun intended, Jesus. That innuendo slipped out. The fact is, it's like, you made a fucking got a prosthetic for no reason because he's jerking off at a strip club. I'm like, you could have just implied it. You didn't even have to show him we could whip his dick out. Then having his uncle walk in on, it's like, oh, put your cock away. It's like, what the fuck is that scene, dude? Oh god. Oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah, that was like after, like, because Osito's having, like, obviously product issues, running low. Went to one of his people, like, yo, how much product do you have left? It's like a day's worth. But it's like, why didn't you re-up with me before now? It's because you thought you were going to get the re-up from someone else. So Owen's been overreaching, and Osito went to visit Shane, and it's like, yo, you overstep again, we're gonna go to war. Which I even love Shane being like, oh, you're very young to be talking about war. So, and because of that, he went to Owen. It's like, okay, you got the, you poked the beast, and then, like, Pimp slaps him twice. I mean, to the point he's bleeding from his mouth. I'm like, he slapped the ever-living piss out of his nephew. It's like, all right, get your shit together. We're going to war. It's like, he took Osito's threat. It's like, no, we're not even going. I'm not even going to, like, worry about it. Like, no. You came to me. You stepped to me. We're going to have beef. So, because Osito is trying to, well, he was trying to like link up with Charmaine, but like Wayne and them are trying to push stuff in New York as well, but things haven't worked out on their front either, so it's going to be a while before they're able to be resupplied, so they can't really help Osito right now, so his situation's kind of falling apart now, and now he's potentially going to war with Shane, so probably going to be a lot of dead bodies. I mean, to be fair, like, Owen's overstepped his bounds one too many times already, but now it's like, alright, you came to me last episode complaining about my nephew. I know he's a fuck up, but he's family, and so you threatened me again, talking to me that way, want to talk about war. You want war, son? I can give you war. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where things kind of go on that front. Speaking of, I brought up Alan earlier. He interviews a lady who's using one of the names of one of the workers. As I was connecting this with like the Frankie stuff, where they ended up busting the lawyer who was basically reusing people's like identities, and so because of that, they know at least one of the maids that was involved with getting rid of Jorge's body is still alive, so they got to track her down. Well, because she's still in Jamaica, but because the other one died in a car accident, the one that's still alive is still in Jamaica, and the Jamaican authorities will let Alan know. So there's only going to be a matter of time, once again, before that all circles back to Renee, who is doing her thing at Xavier, still keeping it low key from everyone. She's about to continue her side hustle. Not even just because Xavier's not even a side hustle, that's her main thing, but she's about to do it because one of the strippers was like, yo, like, if you got some good coke you want me to sell, fine, I'll sell it, and you'll get you'll get a piece of it, because it's like, whatever action happens at Xavier's, Mama's got to get some of that. And now that look on her face made you go, oh, cool, so she's going to start selling drugs too. And you're like, oh, God, Renee. Like, you working at Xavier's one thing, and it's like, fine, but it's like, you're putting yourself in a very dangerous situation. And I don't know if that situation Renee's about to get mixed up in is going to overlap, because I don't think she knows exactly what Ray's investigating. So I don't know if this is going to put her in a situation where she's linking up with Shane and Owen, and then that ultimately ends up putting her in the middle of Ray's investigation. He's going to do everything he can to protect her, and that I don't know. She did have to go back to the office where she killed Jorge. She hasn't been back there since that night, and obviously the it's all been redecorated and stuff like that. So, it kind of made it a little easier, but it was very traumatic. Like, yeah, she was like, when Donna was like, oh yeah, can you go get this paper for me? He's like, oh, in the office, and it's like she was reluctant to go. So, but I guess it works to your benefit because the people who clean that place up kind of helped clean up I mean, the crime scene was already cleaned up regardless, but because the place has already gotten spruced up even more, even if someone went back there knowing for whatever reason that that's where Jorge died, like, there's no evidence. But that's also the thing that kind of works to Renee's benefit if they do get that lady in Jamaica to throw Renee under the bus. There's no evidence. It's just her word against Renee's, and Ray's going to be there to potentially protect. We'll see how that goes. Really quickly, I also want to bring this up. I kept wondering when I was looking at the actress who played Donna, I was like, is she who I think she is? I was curious, and the actress who plays Donna, her name is Anna, and I'm sorry I'm going to butcher her last name, Noguera. Because I was looking at her, I was like, because I remember looking up before, I was like, isn't that the... And it didn't click in the back of my head until I saw her this episode. I was like, isn't she the one writing the Supergirl movie? I think she is, if I'm not mistaken. The Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie for the DCU, which I was like, oh, that's pretty dope, because I know she's an actress and a writer. Either way, just like, it wasn't too important. It's just like, the nerdy side of me was just like, oh man, that's so cool, that's so dope. That's all that really was. Like I said, that clicked in my head, and I just want to kind of talk about that for a little bit, so... A storyline that took me by surprise was the Frankie situation. Him getting Rachel. I was like, what is he going to get her to do? Had her sneak in some stuff. It's like, you ease her up a little bit. It's like, oh, a little bad here, a little bad there. We find out, like, right, she doesn't have anyone in her life. She lives with her grandma. She doesn't have any kids. She wants to kind of have something in her life that's hers. And this is kind of it, something exciting, something that she can make her own. And so Frankie, that was quite a surprise when she rolled up at, like, Renee's mom's place. I'm like, this is what Frankie's got you doing? So he wants you to get close. Like, what is he going to do? Like, have you kidnap Scarlet and Frankie Jr. or like what is he planning? I have no idea. Then also like him and Rachel have phone sex and she's touching herself but he's not, because obviously he's not into her, he's just using her, got her wrapped around his finger. But I'm curious to see what he's doing. Like he's just put herself in a situation where she can get close to Renee and them, but I'm like, I don't know what the plan is. Like obviously it's like not unless he's going to try and plant some stuff on Renee to basically destroy her. Come like, obviously you would never do anything to your own son, but would you do something to her daughter because it's Ray's kid? I'd assume Frankie knows about Renee being pregnant after all this time. I'd assume so, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe he has no idea about that. I have no idea. I mean, I'm curious to see where the hell that storyline goes. Like, what is it exactly she's going to be doing for Frankie in that capacity? We'll ultimately have to wait and see. I'm excited to see where all this takes us. Obviously, I'm getting to this late, so episode 3 is already out as well. So I'm excited to see where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.